There it goes. Welcome back, party people. Welcome back to Chapter 14, Part 2. Rolling right along, fixing to hit the Texas Revolution. This is a fun one. Usually we were in class, we'd have all sorts of videos we would watch, but we're not in class. So, I do have some prep for you to watch on Canvas under modules, so make sure to watch those. But what we are going to hit is the lecture part, which is still fun. I'm sorry, Texas Revolution is one of my favorites. As I do have my Diet Pepsi, by the way, but also I'm going to eat my meal here, my fruit smoothie. Going to advertise some health here. My orange, strawberry, blackberry, mixed with low-fat key lime pie yogurt. Vanilla is good too, by the way. And then a little bit of Crystal Light watermelon drink mix with electrolytes for a little bit of sweet and some electrolyte mix in there. So orange, strawberry, blackberry, key lime pie, yogurt with a little bit of pop of sweet, a little bit of watermelon. It's so good. Oh my god, these things are so good. I've gotten to where I eat a fruit smoothie almost every day. Health matters. I'm gonna munch on that. Oh my god, they're so good. Anyway, let us know that I've got my health kick out of the way. Oh, I still have my caffeine though, just in case. So let's continue on. Puppies are all thankfully taking a nap, so hopefully this will go smoothly. But pick up with the Texas Revolution. Okay, get back on track. Get me back on track. So, Mexico has won their independence from Spain, right? So now California, Arizona, New Mexico, Texas, etc., portions of all sorts of what are right now territories up inside the United States. And they make their, they've won their independence. Spain gives them all the land Spain had previously owned inside North America. And as they start to explore and discover all this new land, not only do they have their independence, but they've got, all of this new land, over 500,000 miles of territory. They find over 7,000 Americans. I feel like I have this really high. There we go. 7,000 Americans living illegally in their country, right? Because again, we've just walked in. It's not our country, not our territory, not ours, but what the heck, we'd like it, so we're going to take it, right? That's the way it goes in that day and age. So they come in, and they've got to proceed very, very carefully because they sure don't want to take off the United States, right? So they're going to make us for issues or reasonings we just talked about. So they're going to make us one of the most generous deals they could possibly make us. I think it's 10 times past beyond fair. They said, look, you shouldn't be here. You know it. We know it. The world knows it, right? The world doesn't know. You get the point. Everybody knows it. You have no right to be here. We all know it. But we've decided that we're going to go ahead and we will let you stay. But there are some terms that come with that, which makes complete sense. I'm like, okay, well, what are the terms? Literally, we can keep the land that we have illegally taken, and we can stay in the territory we've illegally called ours. If we have to convert to Catholicism, because Mexico is a very religious Catholic country, and we need to learn Spanish. If you're going to live in our country, you will convert to the faith of our country, and you will learn the language of our country. We expect you to do those things up front. But also on top of that, so those are the big two things right off the bat. We need you to start working on these. But also, if you're going to remain in our country, we expect you to eventually become an American citizen, and you will convert, and you will become no longer an American citizen. We expect you to eventually become a citizen of Mexico, too. You want to live in our country, you'll become a citizen of our country. Again, not asking a heck of a lot, right? I would figure that was a done no-brainer type of thing. But apparently, those are issues. Because so right off the bat, learn Spanish, convert to Catholic faith. Do we make any attempt to do either? Hell no. You don't want to become Catholic? Guess what? You don't have to. It is possible to, and I hate to use the word fake, but you could learn enough about the Catholic faith that if you needed to appear Catholic, you could and and personally remain in whatever language, whichever religion you did wish to choose. I mean, Washington's a prime example. Washington was very, very much a Christian, but the Enlightenment and deism was the big political order of the day when he was president. So politically, he came off as a true-blooded deist and a child of the Enlightenment. But internally, he was a Christian. I mean, there were 7 prayers that he prayed every single day to God, to Christ. So you can, if a need be, there were ways, to flow that. Pure Catholic if need be, but still internally believe what you want to believe. You could do that if it just took effort, right? Learning another language, not so much. You either know it or you don't. And dear God, we're going to not take any effort to do anything we don't want to do, right? So, of course, we agree. We're like, thank you, that sounds great, absolutely, you got it, no problem, blah, blah, blah. Our actions speak otherwise, though. If you look at our actions basically say, nope, actually, you know what, we're going to do what we want, when we want, how we want in your country, and you're going to be okay with it. They don't take any means to do either. They continue to worship whatever religion they want to openly, and obviously make no effort whatsoever to learn Spanish. Speak the, language of those around them in the country that they're in. It's crazy. And then, of course, obviously, if we're not going to even attempt to do that, you think we're ever going to attempt or even contact anybody about the qualms to become a Mexican citizen? No. We're American. We are proud to be American. We have no reason not to be American. So guess what? We are going to continue to speak English. We're going to worship whatever religion we do so want, if we worship any at all. And we're going to remain American, and you, Mexico, are going to be fine with it. WTF, right? Like, really? Really, actually, yeah, really. So as this goes on, that's so good, not only are we not following those original 7,000, more and more Americans are continuing to pour into Texas, uninvited, unallowed, and the American presence in Texas is growing illegally without permission, because again, all those who come into Texas are going to follow that same guideline of, we're going to take what we want, we're going to do what we want, and we don't give a damn what y'all think, even though this is your country. So the longer this goes on, the more we never try to become a Mexican citizen, any of the new people who move in either. And the longer this goes on, it makes sense that eventually the Mexican government, as Mexico, because this goes on for well over a decade, right? Well over a decade, well into the 1830s. Mexico wins their independence from Spain, 1821. This goes well into the 1830s, right? So well over a decade. As we continue to spit in the face of Mexico, flub their laws, more Americans move into Texas illegally. But it's over a decade, so in that 10 plus years, Mexico is getting on its feet. They are, they have formed their own government. They have elected their own president. They are getting secure and stable, and they are growing. And the issue of having to deal with all of these Americans who are now illegally in their country is becoming a bigger and bigger issue they feel more secure in dealing with. An itchy nose, I'm sorry. Itchy nose. Anywho, so by the way, so eventually, long story short, Santa Anna, who is actually technically the second president of Mexico, there was a man originally elected president of Mexico who did not fulfill his first term. Santa Anna will be chosen to conclude his first term. So even though it's the first acting presidential term of Mexico, Santa Anna is technically the second. Most people don't know that. But long story short, Santa Anna and the Mexican government, this new centralized government, decided enough's enough. They're tired of more immigrants moving into their country. They're tired of us not abiding by their laws, the rules, the regulations. Basically, 2 middle fingers up in the air to Mexico as we move into that country. And so, they start to try to crack down, and they start to try to harp on Americans a little bit more. Per se, they say, you know what? We're getting pretty tired of you just thinking that you have free reign here. You can do what you want, how you want, when you want. So you know what? Enough's enough. We are going to demand that you fulfill the allegations you promised 2 years ago at this point. But on top of that, at this point, you will grow only the agriculture essential to our economy. As in, and I have a list for you on my PowerPoint slide. Corn, squash, tomatoes, You know, the vegetables, the agriculture is essential to Mexican economy. The crops that we deem important in our country, that is what you will grow, not cotton. And we say, nope, we're going to continue to grow cotton, and you're going to be okay with that. You know, beef is an issue. I mean, there's so many issues. I have lists of them for you in my PowerPoints. But so Mexico continues to try and tighten down on the qualifications for Americans to live in Spanish Texas. And everything Mexico throws at us, we just say, nope, we're going to do what we want, when we want, how we want. But the biggest issue, the biggest thing that will really kind of be the final straw that broke Mexico's back, the camel's back, is the issue of slavery. Because all of these Americans... Excuse me, another text message, once again from my bed. He was coming later today, by the way. Bringing me some horses to train. I'm so excited. I love my bed. Anyway, tangent. Slavery. So all of these Americans who are moving in are raiding slaves. Texas, when it was controlled by Spain, was a slave territory. I mean, Spain was the first country to start to enslave the Native Americans, right? Spain was very pro-slavery. My nose is so itchy, I'm sorry. My hair's tickling it. Anyway, now that Texas is Mexican territory, though, it's still referred to as Spanish Texas, but now that Mexico controls it, Mexico was anti-slavery. There is no slavery allowed in Mexico. So here come all these Americans bringing thousands and thousands of slaves into Texas. And instead of just, I mean, Mexico tries to deal with this gradually as well. Per se, they tell us we can't bring slaves, well, we do anyway. They tell us we have to free them, we say hell no. So it comes to the point where any slave over the age of 17 is expected to be freed immediately. Any slave under the age of 17, is expected to be freed immediately because they're seen as a child and not an adult male. And then every slave over the age of 17 would be discussed. As Mexico is trying to disravel this slowly. And of course we say, nope, we're going to bring as many slaves over at any age and we're going to do what we want, when we want, how we want. You be damned. So now in this anti-slavery country, these people are, again, double finger up in the middle air, screw you mentality, bringing slaves into an anti-slavery country, practicing the institution of slavery. Hell no. That was the final straw that broke the camel's back for Mexico, and at that point, they say, you know what, enough's enough. It is decided to move people in, or the military, Mexican military, into Texas and run all these Americans out. They've had their chance now for, 14 years. Enough's enough. They're going out, they feel, if America wants to come after them now, the United States wants to come after them, let's play ball game, right? So Santa Anna will send portions of the army that fought the Mexican War for Independence, very valid, tough soldiers, into Texas. And if we were in class, we would talk a little bit more about it. I'm worried about time. These PowerPoints get too big. They do not load at all. I've got to record them. Anyway, so we see some battles. We see the very first battle of the Texas Revolution, the Battle of Lasco. But the really true first action that was considered was the battle of the first really true, let me rephrase. The first action we see is the Battle of Lasco, which, by the way, we win. The first true blue, really recognized battle of the Texas Revolution has become the Battle of Gonzales. So if you hear about the Battle of Lasco, it actually happens before Gonzales, but Gonzales has become like the big kickoff, the big one that gained all the fame, that became the real true first considered battle of the Texas Revolution. Now, Gonzales is this little town in which, when things were good between Mexico and the United States, or Mexico and Americans, Mexico's trying to work with us to make things better, allowing us to stay there, there was still a third people group. Mexico was okay with us being there. There's another people group in Texas who are not okay with us being there. Because not only is all this land that we're illegally taking from Mexico not their land, it was someone else's first. It was someone else's land before it was Mexico's, right? The Indians. Primarily the Apache and the Comanche, the Lipan Apache and the Comanche are the big issues here. And there's a lot of, Indian attack on Texas towns. So when things were good between Mexico and the United States, well, Americans in Texas, Mexico had given us a cannon, long story short, to use in defense against Indian attacks. But now that things are bad between Mexico and Americans, they want their cannon back. So, General... Not Yucateca. It'll come to me here in a minute. It's not Yucateca. Is it Yucateca? It'll come to me here in a minute. Long story short, Mexicans are moved into Gonzales with the goal of taking this cannon back. But of course, this loan to us means they gave it to us. That's now our cannon. And we don't know, things are bad between us now. They're trying to run us out. We don't want you to get to have your cannon back against us. It leads to some confrontation. It leads to some skirmishes. 2 Mexican soldiers are killed. But long story short, it is Yucateca. Yucateca basically says, we're coming for this cannon and we're not leaving until we get it. And this is very, very quick overview in the space of time. We talked 10 minutes on this battle in class. But again, I gotta get through the revolution in the next 34 minutes. So, long story short, Yucateca says, we're coming for it. We're not leaving until we get it. So that is what our response to that. Which, by the way, you have big names that start this thing from day one. Colonel Fannin is at Goliad. We'll talk about him is at Gonzales. We'll talk about Fannin and Goliad. James C. Neal is at Gonzales. We'll talk about him when we get to the Alamo. So a lot of big names from day one are in this thing at Goliad. And obviously, our response to the Mexican army over this cannon is the infamous, you know what, you want it? Come and take it. Right? You want it, come and take it. The flag is created, right? The infamous, we all know the white flag with a cannon on it. Come and take it. Again, there's the Battle of Gonzales and Shures. We win. We run the Mexicans out. But here's the kicker. This is the best part of the whole thing, in my opinion. So we hold on to the cannon for now. But obviously, we assume they're coming back. They're coming back. They're not just going to let this thing go. So if Mexico comes back for this cannon again and we lose, we want to ensure they don't get it back. Like, if we can't have it, neither can they. So stupid. So, there are 5 men who are going to go out. They're going to go out and hide this cannon, just in case, right? In case the Mexicans come back, whether in case people are taken prisoner of war. There's only 5 people in the world who are going to know where this cannon is hidden for safety reasons. So they're going to go out to the Gonzales River and bury it way down deep in the riverbank, right? Well, Mexicans don't come back for this cannon. That turns out not to be an issue. And so, but the cannon remains hidden. And the only 5 men, guys, 5 people who know, 5 people who know where this cannon is located, all answer the call to go to the Alamo. And we all know how many survivors there were at the Alamo, right? 0. Meaning, the only 5 people in the world who knew where this cannon was hidden all died at the Alamo. So in a roundabout way, Mexico didn't get their cannon back, but we didn't get it either. And this cannon, y'all, this is the best part. This cannon remained lost, remained hidden until the 1990s. I think that's hilarious. Like 150 years-ish. 160 years, maybe. Anyway, you get the point. About 100, over 150, 60, over 150 years. We'll just put it like that. I'd have to do the math to get the exact number. Over 150 years, this cannon remained lost, which I think is hilarious. Like 157, anyway, doesn't matter. 1990s. It was spring. Yeah, it was spring down the Gonzales. It was, tons of rain. The Gonzales River flooded. And when the water finally, depleted, it washed away a ton of the riverbank. And it washed away enough of the riverbank. It finally exposed and brought up this cannon that had been lost for 150 plus years. So now, if you go to Gonzales, the cannon is on. Actually, it has been preserved. It is, it is historical. It is a landmark. But if you go through Gonzales, you can see the original flag is still there, hanging in their capital, their little downtown of Gonzales, as is the original cannon, which is kind of funny. But so 150 years, this cannon went hidden because we just didn't want the Mexicans to have it. It's greatness, right? We go on to have the Battle of Bejar. San Antonio's official name used to be San Antonio de Bejar. So we have the Battle of San Antonio de Bejar. It's spelled B-A-X-A-R. It's Bejar. Or Bejar is how you pronounce it. Long story short, Santa Anna sends Colonel Ueda down there, sends him all these reinforcements of all these Mexican soldiers still in chains to be his soldiers to fight this thing. Long story short, we run the Mexicans completely out of San Antonio. We gain control of San Antonio. James Neal, who had been at the Battle of Gonzales, is sent to San Antonio. James Neal assumes command of the Alamo. And, I mean, we win the Battle of Velasco, which gets forgotten about throughout history. We won the first true real big one, Battle of Gonzales. We won the Battle of Bejar, San Antonio. And Santa Anna's like, what in the holy crap is happening, right? These are freaking American rogues, and they're kicking our army's butt. What in the holy crap is happening, right? So Santa Anna comes to the conclusion, you know what? You want something done right, you gotta do it yourself. So, as acting president of his country, Santa Anna will take off his suit, tie, and penny loafers, whatever he was wearing, put back on his uniform from the American War of Independence. American War, I just said American War. Put back on his military uniform for the Mexican War of Independence. And as acting president of his country, he will lead troops onto the field of battle. Holds a very strange similarity to one of our presidents. Maybe the first president of our country, George Washington, right? But trust me, the fact that as acting president, technically, no, Santa Anna is technically the second, you get the point. As first presidents of their countries, only presidents of their country to ever lead troops onto the field of battle as president. Trust me. Excuse me, trust me, it is where the similarity between the two men end. Let's make that clear. Because, oh my dear God, Santa Anna, brilliant. No, they're both also brilliant. Santa Anna is a brilliant, brilliant general. He is sadistic, though. He is dark, he's a narcissist, he is sadistic, and he's awful. No sincerity, no gift of grace, no humility, the way Washington had. Santa Anna is just a brilliant beast who shows no compassion. So he comes across the river, leading an army of over 6,000, by the way, as he comes across the Rio Grande. It's very, very important to know, this is a wonderful final question, very important to note, war was never declared in the Texas Revolution. We never declared a war with Mexico. There we go. But it will come with the Mexican-American War. Not right now. So the Texas Revolution war was never declared. Mexico just comes in to run us out, and he's still then in 1836. Last year of his term, Andrew Jackson, last year of his second term, last year of his second term, will put together an army, American army, this group of militia to go down there and protect all these poor Americans who are just being brutalized by the Mexicans in Texas, right? Because those poor Americans are so being victimized. They haven't done anything wrong, right? It's kind of funny. Anyway, however, so a Texas militia will be put together with the goal of going and protecting Americans in Texas. Sam Houston is chosen to be one of the leaders. He's actually very controversial at the time. He was an alcoholic, as many people were, but he was an alcoholic, as was James Bowie, etc., etc. But kind of seen as hot-headed, not overly respected in the 1830s, like before this kicks off. Sam Houston, by the way, is the most vitally important person to the state we've ever had. Sam Houston is one of my favorite people in all Texas history. He's phenomenal. He's going to go on to... We should all bow down to what Sam Houston did for us. Just saying. But 1830s, before this thing really kicks off, he's gone through a lot of loss himself. He is an alcoholic. Not well respected. And people are kind of ticked that he's chosen to be commander of this Texas militia, right? However, he is. Down to Texas he goes with an army to protect these poor, pitiful Americans being brutalized by Santa Anna. Because when Santa Anna comes across the border, it's a no-holds-back campaign. Every American town he hits in Texas, he just detrimises. It is burned to the ground. People are killed. They are tortured. They are run off. Everything is destroyed. Santa Anna is doing a damn good job at making an impression on Americans in Texas. Which is why Sam Houston very quickly is sent down with the Texas Army, Sam Houston and his men get to Goliad. They're perusing and coming up with their game plan. A lot of the Texas Rangers come and offer their services and volunteer to join the Texas Army. So once we get to Texas, the Texas Rangers join, very loyal to Sam Houston. About the time, so Sam Houston has arrived, the Texas Army has arrived. About the time, Santa Anna, who's also obviously in Texas, kicking ass, taking names, hits a fork in the road. One direction goes to Goliad, the mission of the town of Goliad, and the mission where he knows Sam Houston and this Texas Army are located. The other direction heads towards San Antonio, which, when Texas was a Mexican / was a Spanish territory, San Antonio was the capital. San Antonio was the first permanent town of Texas. It wasn't the first build. We saw a couple be built and fail. Before that, San Antonio was the first permanent town in Texas, to date. It was the original capital. The fact that we'd had the Battle of Behar, all Mexicans had been run off, the Americans had taken San Antonio, that was not going to fly. To get the capital of Texas back was crucial. So Santa Anna, who's now got, again, thousands and thousands and thousands of Mexicans, also several second-in-command. Some of his own family are serving under him. But so is many of his the soldiers he fought alongside in the Mexican War for Independence, including Jose Ureta. So they hit this fork in the road. One town goes towards the capital, San Antonio. The other side, this direction goes towards the town of Goliad, where Sam Houston is. Both, vitally important. Santa Anna feels. So he looks at Colonel Ureta, Jose Ureta, and says, "Let's split up. I'm going to take the majority of the men. I'm going to head towards San Antonio. You take a portion of the men. You head to Goliad. I'll go reclaim San Antonio and retake the Alamo. You go wipe out Sam Houston. Let's kill two birds with one stone." Right? Which is the plan. So they split. Ureta heading towards Goliad. Santa Anna heading towards the Alamo. And they have a plan. But thankfully we do have Pony Express at the time. Thankfully we do have military scattered throughout. And on the path to Goliad, Ureta is seen by a Pony Express rider, who quickly sends word to Sam Houston at Goliad that the Mexican army is on the way to Goliad. The Mexican army, a portion of the Mexican army is coming after him. As in, Sam Houston has been informed well in time to get the hell out of Dodge. Pack up and get out, which is what he does. But again, we can get ourselves, men, human beings, out quickly. But the mission of Goliad, and the town Goliad is full of supplies and weaponry and artillery, and it's going to take time to pack up, right? So Sam Houston's going to take the majority of the men, and he's going to, and leave, but then leave others behind to clean up and follow. So he chooses to leave Colonel Fannin, who was at Gonzales, by the way. He tells Colonel Fannin, I'm going to get the majority of the men. We're going to head out and go to San Jacinto. I'm entrusting you. I'm going to leave you behind. You and the remaining men pack everything up, get everything packed, get everything loaded, and chop, haste, don't linger. But you pack everything up and you follow. Meet me at San Jacinto. And hurry, chop, so that when the Mexican army gets here, all they have, are empty buildings. There's no human in sight, but there's also not a bullet on the ground for them to take. As in, the trek would have been for nothing. So I'm leaving now. You hurry, get the men together, get all supplies loaded up. Follow me, meet me at San Jacinto. Yes, sir, you got it. Houston, the majority of the men, Texas Rangers, they leave. Again, Houston was very chop, let's get to this point, right? Don't linger. Time is of the essence here. But Fannin will make a mistake. Fannin will make... he's not trying to ignore orders. There's no maliciousness to this. There's no what's the word? Not naive. Disingenuous intent. He's not trying to disobey Sam Houston. He just doesn't have that sense of urgency that Houston was trying to bestow upon him. But he's going to pack up. He's going to follow his orders. He means to do what he's told, but he lingers. He lingers longer than Houston wanted him to, and Houston advised him to. He lingers for about 2 days. I mean, Houston's like, pack up, get out tomorrow. Fannin thinks he've got more time than they do. So he's going to linger another extra day or so. There's just not, the need for haste isn't really there, if you ask me. So it's a fatal mistake because it gives the Mexican army time to get there. I almost said Fannin, good lord. Uyeda gets about 6 miles outside Goliad. And so he's going to send a few. Who did I say? Uyeda. The general in Mexico, or General Uyeda, gets about 6 miles outside Goliad. Is going to send. Hi, Neil. Is going to send a few soldiers right ahead. Peru the situation, Peru the scene. See what they're walking, see what they're coming into. And so mention is surprised, and these soldiers right back, and they say, Colonel. Actually, he's General. General. The Texans are leaving. Texanians. The Mexican word to define the Americans in Texas was Texanian. But so the Texanians are leaving. Everything is packed up. They're walking up the door. They think that, they have no idea we're here. They think they're scot-free. And Uyeda says, perfect. Let them think they're scot-free. Let them leave. The further out we let them get, the safer they're going to feel, the more they're going to drop their guard, because they think they're home free. Let them leave. We'll attack when the time is right. Which is exactly what freaking happens, y'all. The Americans get about Texans in Texas. Ugh. Sitting on the crease of my couch, that is not comfortable. The Americans in Texas get about 6 miles outside Goliad. And again, the further out they get, the safer they think they are. They get about 6 miles outside Goliad, and Uyeda will attack. Now, again, they have their guns on their shoulders, etc., but their cannons, their supplies, their bullets, most everything, don't forget, is packed up, right? What they've got on their bodies is all they have on them, out there, to quickly get when they are attacked. Now, to the Americans' credit, they do hold their own. I mean, they are ambush attacked by the Mexicans. They are unprepared. But we hold our own for that first day of fighting. I mean, it goes on all day. Americans kill off about 200 Mexican soldiers. We lose 9. Throughout this first day, this thing is still anybody's game. We're still in it. But then, throughout the night, don't forget, and this is important to note too. As this war begins, or this battle, this revolution begins, what about all the Mexican citizens who are just living in Texas? They're going to pick a lot of them are going to pick a side. Some are actually going to side with the Americans and join Sam Houston's army because they feel that Texas being an American territory is better than it being Mexican. There are actually Mexican citizens in Texas hoping the Americans win this thing, while others obviously will be loyal to country. Their country, and they're going to offer their services to the army. So, throughout that first day, we hold our own. Throughout the night, though, again, we kill off 200. But throughout that night, we have 100 Mexican citizens from the territory, from the area, who obviously, upon hearing the battle rage all day, that night will come and offer their services to Uyeda. So we kill off 200, but they get 100 reinforcements. We wake up the next morning, we don't have any reinforcements. 50 they got 50% of the men they killed off back. And again, we weren't prepared for this from day one. And as day 2 commences, it very quickly starts to fall in favor of the Mexican army. And Fannin's got a decision to make. Do they continue to go down fighting? Because if they do, they're going to lose everybody, right? Or does he surrender and check his chances with being spared? Because again, just because you surrender doesn't mean they're going to kill you. You could be used in prisoner exchange. They could, eventually let you go. Surrendering is not a death sentence. Fighting to the death is. So what does he do? He decides to surrender. He's going to surrender in the 43 if you include Fannin. Fannin and the 342 remaining soldiers. Now, some of them are going to turn. About a dozen of them during this first day of battle or through the night, they turn and run. They just disappear. Head for the hills. But the other 342 are marched back to Goliad, including Fannin, where they're held, by the way, for weeks. They're held as prisoners of war for weeks on end. And it's really important to note that during that 3-week period, they're never in fear for their lives. Because Ueda never had any intention of killing them, like, ever. The goal, Ueda was thinking the same thing the Americans were. They're going to either be released when this thing is over, because everyone thought it was going to be over quickly, and or they'll be used in prisoner exchange. But so for weeks, these men are held. So the Battle of Gonzales happens before the Alamo. The slaughtering happens after the Alamo. For after the Battle of the Alamo, Santa Anna has come to the conclusion, his motto is no survivors. Nobody will survive this thing. So, and again, I have to look up his name. It's a big, long name. Long story short, Santa Anna will send from the Alamo one of his other generals to Goliad with a message for Ueda. It's in my Texas history PowerPoint. I have to pull it up. Anyway, he sends a second in command to Goliad with instructions to slaughter all of the American prisoners. Which again, Ueda never intended to do, never had any intention to do. This catches him off guard. This is a complete shock. He's like, I'm sorry, what now? And he says, no, I'm not going to do that. That's not going to happen. Absolutely not. And he's like, A, that was not my original orders. B, these men are unarmed prisoners. I'm not just going to execute them. I refuse to do so. Your Ortega says it's not happening, I won't do it. And the second in command, I have to look his name up. You can find it online. It'll come to me here in a minute. It's a big, long name. Anyway, he says, no worries. Literally, Santa Anna assumed that's what your answer would be, which is why he sent me. He said, if you refuse to, he gave me permission to assume command. So I am relieving you of duty. I am taking over. I'll kill them myself. Which is exactly what happens. Palm Sunday. It's a pretty important day in both the Catholic and Christian faith, y'all. Palm Sunday. The Fannin is held to the side. 342 men are taken outside the mission, taken outside, right outside this, the mission of Goliad, into the streets, lined up in the streets. And as Fannin is forced to watch, all 342 men are fired upon by a firing squad. But until every single man is laying in the streets. And once every single man has been shot and is laying in the streets, the Mexican army goes through the piles of men, and any man who still shows signs of life, they will either bayonet, they will gut with their bayonets, or they will, crack their skulls open with the butts of their guns. Now, three men are really, really good at playing possum. I'll tell you what. There's a reason we know so much of what we know. 3 men are injured. They've been obviously shot. But upon seeing what the Mexican army is doing to others who are still alive and wounded, they play possum. They hold their breath, and when the Mexicans come by and look at them, they play dead. They're passed over. They don't know they're still alive. And then, once the Mexican army assumes everyone has been killed off, they're going to take Fannin into the mission tower. The tower of the chapel in Goliad. Now, when they take, and he knows what's coming. But when the Mexicans go back inside the mission in Goliad, the 3 injured men take this opportunity to get up and at least run and hide, where they can still kind of watch and witness and see what's going to happen. But, at least at this point, they're hiding. And what we do know is Fannin was taken up into the church tower. He knows what's coming. He's not done. So he asks for his last rites, which in a gentleman's war would always be met. If you're going to kill somebody of a leadership position, if they ask for their last rites, they were always met. The French would have done it, the British did it, we did it, etc., so on and so forth. And he asked for his last rites. He asked not to be shot in the face. He asked for his possessions to be sent back to his family, and he asked to be blindfolded. Because he's assuming, his family's going to come for his body, because he can give him a Christian burial. They don't want him to see, he's got to be recognized, right? So he has to be blindfolded, not to be shot in the face, and his possessions to be sent back to his family. Again, any European country, Britain, France, anybody would have honored this. Mexico's not playing by a gentleman's war rules. So what do? They don't blindfold him. They do shoot him in the face. And then they're going to rob him and keep all his possessions as their own. And then all the bodies that are in the street, the men who are hiding, watch as they are put into a huge pile and continuously doused with gasoline as they are burned. Burned to ash. It was so unbelievably unnecessary. It was so horrific. It was so atrocious. It was bad, y'all. It was bad, 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 bad. So, Goliad is just this horrific, unnecessary, god-awful slaughtering of these innocent people. These unarmed, prisoners. Goliad is not as remembered as the Alamo. Everyone knows the Alamo. Alamo easily is one of the most famous stories in Texas history. Which, after the Battle of Bexar, because again, you gotta win to Goliad, Santa Ana is going towards San Antonio. After the Battle of Bexar, or Behar, excuse me, after the Battle of Behar, James Neal, who was also at Gonzales Cannon Battle, he was put in charge of the Alamo. Well, when news will come. Oh, there's a dove outside my window. News will come, Santa Ana is on the way. And when Sam Houston, who is at San Jacinto at this point, learns that Santa Ana is leading thousands of people to recapture the town of San Antonio and regain the Alamo, Sam Houston will send word to the Alamo, to James C. Neal, and tell him to destroy it. The Americans are going to get the heck out of Dodge. He expects James C. Neal to completely destroy the Alamo so that when Santa Ana gets there, even if he retakes the capital, the Alamo is just going to be rubble, right? Be a huge loss to the Mexican army. So James C. Neal gets this letter stating, destroy it, burn it down. Houston gets this letter back saying, sir, I think we should stay. I really think we could, because don't forget, guys, the Alamo, which I'm assuming most of us have been to the Alamo in San Antonio. If not, you should completely go. But if you have been there, we know that what remains today is about a tenth, maybe a 12th the size of the original structure. All around the freaking hotels and all that crap is built on where the Alamo used to be. The Alamo was huge. It's probably a 12th of it is left, which is the mission, which is what we go visit. A little bit of the gardens. But he says, considering when we had the entire structure, he's like, sir, I think we could really deliver a pretty serious blow to Santa Ana if we stay. I think we should stay and fight. Sam Houston still sends a letter back. I appreciate your bravery. I appreciate your courage. This isn't a debate. We're not discussing this. I'm telling you. Destroy it. Burn it down. Get rid of it. I appreciate your sentiment, but no. He gets in the letter back. Sir, with all due respect, I really, truly think we could really deal this blow to Santa Ana if we stay. I think we should stay and fight. And Santa Ana's like, oh, this man, bless his heart. God bless him. He's not getting it, right? He's not getting it. We're not talking about this. It's an order. So that is when Houston is going to send a dear friend of his. They were very, very, very close. A man by the name of James Bowie. Hashtag Jim Bowie to the Alamo. Not to fight. He's James Bowie / Jim Bowie is originally sent to the Alamo to destroy it. True story. Houston, again, they're very good friends. Houston feels that Bowie won't have any problems carrying out his orders, right? Bowie gets to the Alamo, sees it, here's Neal's argument, and all of a sudden, he sees it, here's Neal's argument, here's Neal's case. Next thing you know, Houston's getting a letter from Bowie saying, hey, bud, right? Kidding. Sir, with all due respect, I completely understand your position and why you sent me, but now that I'm here, I see Neal's side too. Sir, I think we should stay and fight. I really think we can make a blow. So Houston now is going to make a decision. From where he was last told Santa Ana and his men were, compared to where San Jacinto and Houston is, it's a big state, y'all. He calculates there's no way, if a battle of the Alamo were to commence against Santa Ana, these men are going to be on their own because there's no physical way. Houston and his men can't be fast enough. They're too far away. They can never get there before Santa Ana and the Mexicans do. There's just no way. So Sam Houston will send one final letter back to the Alamo and say, look, considering Santa Ana's last location we were told of and our location, there is no way in the world we can beat him there. He will get there before we do, so there's no reason for us to even try. Meaning, if you want to do this, you are on your own. If you want to do this, we respect it. You have my blessing, you have my permission, but it's up to you. This is you. Godspeed, God bless. But they have their okay. They have their okay. This is when Neil and Bowie will start to pour in Houston. Letters will go out across the state. Anybody who's in the area who's willing to fight at the Alamo, get their numbers up. Go to the Alamo to fight against the Mexicans, to do so. And this is when you do see people start to trickle in. You see William Travis, who actually did not get along with James Bowie / Jim Bowie. They actually did not like each other at all originally, which is kind of funny. Bowie hates him. Bowie hates him with a passion. But Travis, who's 24 years old compared to Bowie's 46, arrives at the Alamo with several other soldiers. Travis had not been the most stand-up man. He's only 24 years old. Not been the most stand-up man to this point, though, however. He's from up north. Got married. Had 2 children. Had a boy and a girl. Decided he didn't want to be married. Didn't want to be a father. Walked to the door, left his wife, came to Texas, joined the army walked to the door, joined the army, came to Texas. His wife decides to divorce him. Which, he's just walk out with that in the first place. No, his life is kind of sticky, kind of iffy. But, long story short, Bowie arrives at the Alamo. David Crockett, who, by the way, was a senator before this point. Yes, he's been the frontiersman we all know and love, but he's actually served his last term in Congress, ran for another re-election, lost, and it's after he lost his second bid for re-election. He says, you know what, enough is enough. And that is when he went to the door or the steps of the Capitol, makes the infamous statement. He turns around upon hearing he's lost his re-election run, and he says, you know what? Y'all may all go to hell. I'm going to Texas. It's what brings him to Texas. He arrives at the Alamo. So people are arriving. People are trickling in. They're just trickling in slowly. Now, the man responsible for the Battle of the Alamo, James C. Neal, leaves. It's kind of funny. Because the Battle of the Alamo would have never happened in a million years without James C. Neal. He is the one who made this argument. He's in charge. The Battle of the Alamo was because of James C. Neal's fight. But it's also very important to note that we didn't think there was a shot in hell the Mexicans were going to get to San Antonio before early April. And James C. Neal receives word, and it's either his wife. I think it's his daughter, but it may be his wife. I'm pretty sure it's his daughter. Anyway, he receives word that his daughter, maybe his wife, I think it's his daughter, is very, very ill. Is perfectly ill. And he needs to go be a dad. He needs to go be a husband. So he has every intention of coming back, which is important to note. So he says, hey, I'll be back before the Mexican army gets here, and I'll bring as many people with me as I can when I come back. But while, these few weeks while I'm gone, before the Mexicans get here, I need to pick someone to leave in my stead. His biggest options are Neil and Bowie, Bowie and Travis, there we go, who hate each other, by the way. It's kind of funny. Long story short, he originally picks Travis, which just ticks the crap out of Bowie. Causes all sorts of issues. Travis goes ahead and decides to share power of the Alamo with Bowie, which turned out, long story short, as I'm looking at my time here, turned out to be pointless. For Bowie ends up getting sick. He too is a horrific alcoholic. Ends up getting horrifically sick, breaks his ankle, becomes bedridden. So whether he likes it or not, Travis will have control of the Alamo. But again, it's very important to note. We didn't expect the Mexicans to get to San Antonio until early April. February 20th. Travis is told the Mexicans are 48 hours away. Like 6 weeks before we thought they had a shot in hell of getting there. we're told they'll be here in a matter of days. And we're like, no, that's someone's pulling our leg. They're just trying to scare us. There's no way that's possible. There's no way that can happen. Someone's messing with us. Someone's playing with us. No, there's no way. I'm telling you. I'm telling you. They're on the way. We just can't believe it. We can't believe it. We can't believe it. Travis will end up putting a soldier up in the tower. The Mission Tower in San Antonio. It's the highest location. He says, if you see the Mexican army, ring this bell. And sure enough, February 20th, the early morning hours of February 23rd, that bell rings. The Mexicans have gotten there light years before anybody thought it was possible. Now, again, space, I'm looking at my time frame here, 51 minutes in. Space of time. Does anybody know how long the siege of the Alamo lasts? 13 days. Anyone ever heard of 13 Days of Glory? It's talking about the Alamo. Because there's 12 days of back and forth, talking and negotiation between Santa Anna and Travis, and those inside of the Alamo. There's a few cannon fire skirmishes back and forth. There's a small handful of Mexican soldiers killed, small, like 4 or 5 altogether. But lots of negotiation, lots of issues, lots of back and forth between Santa Anna and Travis, and et cetera, et cetera. But it is important to note that all of the negotiations were physically done between Santa Anna and the women in the Alamo. Travis would never send a man out to deliver a message to Santa Anna. He would only send the women. We have Susanna Dickinson. We have Emily Rose. We have some big names. Some big names of the Alamo. Why? Why would he send the women out into the freaking battlefield? Because Mexicans had this phenomenal appreciation for women and would never, and Travis knew there was not a shot in hell Santa Anna or any of the Mexican soldiers would harm a hair on the woman's head. He sends out one of the men, Santa Anna might just get taken off, pick up his gun, put a bullet in his head. The woman wouldn't be touched, and he knew it. So Susanna Dickinson, Emily Rose, some of the big names, would go out to deliver messages, dispatches, bring back Santa Anna's response. And finally, the day of March 5th, Travis receives his last response from Santa Anna, saying, look, enough's enough. We've had enough. You've got one more shot he goes, you can either get out. You've got one more shot to leave. He's like, you can either stay in there. He goes, you can either leave, and if you leave, we'll let you go. If you stay in there, though, we're going to kill y'all. Because tomorrow morning, we're coming. The morning hours of March 6th, 1836. He says, we're coming tomorrow morning. You can either leave now or stay and die, you pick. Travis gets this message. He's going to make the decision for, again, he's been sending out pleas and pleas upon pleas for the last 12 days. Anybody who will come out, or anybody who is still willing to join, if there's any shot to get their numbers up, please show up. But nobody's coming at this point. Nobody's coming. So Travis will send out that final letter relaying the situation, put the infamous quote on there, between victory and death, death will always triumph, right? Victory or death, and I choose death. So Travis has made his decision. He's made his decision. But he can't make it for everybody else. He's got to inform everybody else of the situation, right? So this is when he goes before he gathers everybody inside the Alamo together, gathers them all together, explains the situation, and has to make their decision. Which when we were in class, we would watch a clip of Travis delivering the speech at the Alamo. Long story short, he goes on and basically says, look, he's the first one to put his life on the line, or sign up to put his life on the line. He says, I'm staying. I can't make the decision for you. The Mexicans are coming in the morning. Nobody else is coming to help us. We're alone. This is it. You can either leave now under the cover of darkness. You have that right. Nothing will be held against you if you decide to leave. But if you decide to stay here with me in the Alamo, we will sell our lives dearly. I mean, it's a suicide mission. Everybody knows it. If they stay, they're gonna die. They can leave. They've been given permission to leave. If they stay, they're gonna die. Make your choice. Now, according to history's myth, this is when he goes on to draw the infamous line in the sand with a sword and says, everybody willing to stay, cross this line. Historically, that's not accurate. He's not expecting them to make that decision whether they want to live or die right there that second. All right, you gotta pick right now. You want to die, you want to leave. Huh? No, they're... Alamo historians claim that is just a romantic myth, because it is romantic. It is patriotic. It's a myth. They're given time to contemplate it. But line in the sand or not, the answer is the same. How many men decide to stay, knowing they're going to die in a suicide mission? All but one. An Irishman, excuse me, I said Irishman, a Frenchman by the name of Louis Rose. No, it was Irish. An Irishman by the name of Louis Rose said, I'm not ready to whittle my wife. I'm not ready to leave my children. Louis Rose says, I can't stay. I'm out. And Travis says, you have every right to be. I mean, God bless you, sir. Good speed. Have a good life. Everyone else stayed, knowing their lives were on the line. I mean, it didn't get more freaking impressive than that, y'all. It's insane. And in the early morning hours, the assault will begin. Which, again, I'm worried about my time. I'm going to pause there. We will conclude another last 10 minutes or so. Actually, probably be about 20 minutes or so. But we're going to pause there. I'll be back in a few minutes with the rest of Chapter 14. See you in a few.